Welcome to r/ProRevenge, where people get revenge in the most creative ways. And the first story is called Block My Promotion? You Silly, Silly Man. This was a few years ago. I got a job in a cinema. I was 4 to 5 years older than most of my coworkers, whom it was most of their first jobs. Having had a couple of jobs previous, and a few years of maturity under my belt, I quickly became a very valued employee. So much so, I was given a promotion to supervisor within 6 months. The general manager loved me. I was a Swiss Army knife. I would take care of projection duties when the projection manager was at our other sites. I dealt with the busy periods very calmly and was able to diffuse potential situations into getting worse. I was very good at my job. I would be in charge of the building when whatever manager was there had to step out. We had 1 general manager and 4 floor managers. They all liked me because I made their job a lot easier. When I was working, they didn't have to work as hard, and when it wasn't busy, they didn't have to work at all. 2 more years go by, and one of the floor managers says she's leaving in 3 months. Without having to say it, I know I'm going to get her position. They always hire internally, and I am head and shoulders above my coworkers. This is where it gets interesting. Let's call this manager Blobby. So, Blobby does a stock take every Thursday. I always work Thursday mornings in projection, so for the last couple of years I had a standing arrangement to drink with my pals on Thursday night. I effing loved my Thursday nights. I worked most weekends, so this was my Saturday night. One Thursday, I'm doing my projection checks, and the general manager says that Blobby is sick. Would I be able to do the stock take? F it, I'll do it. A 9 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. We have to count the stock at retail after we close, hence the late finish. It's a horrible shift, but the brownie points are worth it. So next week comes along, and instead of doing my projection shift on Thursday, I'm in to do a stock shift. I asked the general manager what's going on, and he said Blobby requested me in. Even though me and the general manager get on really well, he's going to side with his manager over his supervisor. I explain I go out on Thursday nights, and Blob says, "Listen dude, I'm actually doing you a favor. When the manager job comes up and you know how to do the stock take and orders, it'll look fantastic, and you'll 100% get the job." I grit my teeth and go along with it. It makes sense to learn another avenue of the job. So Thursday nights come around and Blobby sits at his desk with his feet up while I basically do his job. It's not a difficult task, and after a month, it's a piece of piss. Let me paint a picture of Blobby. He's short, fat, and balding. Ear pierced, thinks he's cool, but he really isn't. Think David Brent from The Office. Keep him on your side and work is a lot easier because he can be quite petty. But what he had done next was far from petty. 3 months go by and we have 1 week left before our manager leaves. They start the interview process, but for some reason the owners decide to sit in and do the interviews. Really strange. The interview starts and I'm hit with, how do you expect to be a manager if your timekeeping is so poor? They have a list of times I clocked in late. 5 minutes here, 7 minutes there. The thing is, timekeeping wasn't an issue. You come in late the odd time, and then when they needed you to stay back, most would. Take a penny, leave a penny scenario. But these guys go to town on me. They have surveillance footage of me taking in a delivery, which isn't even part of my job, without wearing a high visibility jacket. Your complete lack of concern for safety regulations is appalling. Emails from a few irate customers over the years that complained about me. I done the right thing in all those circumstances, but taken out of context looks like I was in the wrong. I've given up fighting my corner. I know I'm not getting this promotion. My coworker got it. If it wasn't me, I was happy it was her. She was also very good at her job, and would no doubt make a fine manager. So after giving so much for the company over 3 years, I found myself doing things half-assed. Why go the extra mile when it wasn't appreciated? So I'm still on stock duty on a Thursday night. While Blobby is down dealing with a customer, I'm in the office inputting the stock figures. I accidentally closed the program. I open Blobby's folder where the program is and see a file saying discrepancies. I don't know why I clicked in, but I did. I see my name, OP's folder. Of course I'm going to click in and see what's going down in Funky Town. I'm effing shocked. There are about 5 subfolders in my folder. Lates, dangerous delivery, potential stealing, associates, and hungover. We've already talked about lates and dangerous delivery. The stealing one is me leaning over a closed till, but looks like I'm trying to hide something, which I wasn't. Utter nonsense. Associates is pictures of me standing with my coworkers chatting when it wasn't busy. And hungover was screenshots from my Facebook when I was out the night before and then in work the next day. It was clear as day that this jerk handed this information to the owners. Finishing up that night was so effing tough. I wanted to rip that earring out and pop his bald head like a pimple, but I played it cool and finished my shift. Monday comes around and I asked to talk to the general manager. I explained what I found, and it's really serious because it's invasion of privacy. CCTV should only be used to review footage when something goes wrong, not used to stalk me. The general manager says he only found out after the interviews were over. The reason he didn't do them was because he was also leaving. He was a good man and didn't BS around. He said Blobby hated me. Don't know why, but he was always bringing up issues with me. He then recommended me getting a new job because more than likely Blobby was going to be the new general manager, and my life there would be unbearable if he got it. So I talked to my brother and sister, who are a lot smarter than me, about what roads to go down. File a complaint? What's the point when the owners use his dossier against me? Bring him to court? Too much hassle for very little payoff. If you're still reading, I applaud you. High five. This is where it gets fun. Blobby wants the general manager position more than anything. He has a bit of competition, but he's the front runner. I could spend the next 2 months looking for work, or could be ambitious and try to bury this piece of trash. I chose the latter. So I'm drinking with my girlfriend one night and we're joking around about how to get revenge. She scared me a little with her suggestions, some tame ones like key his car, and then a jump straight to burn his house down. If any authorities are watching, we were only joking. And just like that, Fat Boy signed his own death certificate. Whilst I'm on the stock shift, he makes a passing remark. We have to start nailing this stock take down to the last popcorn kernel. The yearly stock take is in 6 weeks. An owner is doing it, and she's a ball breaker. I know all about her. She ripped me to pieces in the interview. Don't worry, Blobby. OP is on the case. Those numbers will be perfect. And he goes for the Oscar with this line. You're a good worker. Effing tragedy you didn't get the manager job. But when I get in the hot seat, you'll be made a manager as soon as a position comes up. No interview required. What a prick. I'm so good at the stock take that he doesn't even check my work. I'm making the orders and counting the stock. So over the next 6 weeks, I start to mess stuff up. I put the orders in on a Wednesday for our Friday delivery. I normally eyeball it and see what movies are coming out, and we always had a nice bit of stock on hand. Not too much, not too little. That's about to change. I start adding 25% to every order we get in. I show Blob the dockets, he signs them, happy days. Then when I'm doing the stock on the Thursday, I put in that we ordered our usual amount. The system balances on the computer, but what we have in the stock room is a lot more. I do this for the next 4 weeks. I'm royally screwed if he ever actually looked in the stockroom. They're nearly exploding with product. Luckily for me, and unlucky for him, he's a lazy piece of trash. In the last week before the ball breaker does the end of year stock take, I balance everything on the computer as usual. Before we call it a night, I tell him to check the pre-sales tomorrow. We're gonna have a busy weekend, so I say to him, email our suppliers and get a bit extra. It'll all get used anyway, and we're looking perfect on the stock count. Granted, I've been adding on 25% for the past month or so, but he goes ultra blobby and bangs out an emergency email to our suppliers asking could they double the standing order for tomorrow? Check effing mate. When I get home that night, I type up my resignation letter. I ask the general manager, who has a couple of weeks left, if I can leave immediately due to unforeseen circumstances. He agrees because he's a good man, and gives me his personal number and an amazing written reference, wishes me the best, and thanks me for all my hard work. Like Andy Dufresne, I've crawled through a sea of garbage and came out clean on the other side. I confide in one of the regular workers what I've done over a couple of pints. He said the next day when the delivery came, they couldn't fit it all in the 4 different stock rooms. Rule of thumb would be about 3 weeks stock on hand, but we must have had about 8. Now, I know you're gonna say I'm really hurting the owners. I'm not. All of the stock will be used, except maybe a few bags of popcorn that'll expire. Everything else will get sold for an exorbitant profit. Word on the grapevine was that the yearly stock take went into the wee hours of the morning, 3 a.m. to be precise. Blobby was boxed in. The stock was a cluster F, tens of thousands of euros off. He could take the blame himself and look incompetent, or say I did it, to which he looks worse considering he was behind the dossier to slander me. I don't know what he did. All I know is he didn't get the general manager position, and within 6 months, he was working selling furniture. I never spoke to him about it, but one would hope he knows it was me who screwed him. F you, Blobby, you rotund walking beanbag. Thanks for reading. This story makes me smile. Blobby screws OP out of a promotion, and OP screws Blobby out of a promotion. It's the perfect story of revenge. And that brings us to the end of today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to give this video a like and comment down below. And I'll see you tomorrow.